welcome to all of you on our prestigious day and a panel discussion. I would like to introduce our moderator of the session and associate partner in GRCS Telecom India KPMG, Mr. Suneet Kumar. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
So I think so. The previous session, right? So this is in continuation, the future digital infrastructure. Some of you might have attended the previous session as well. So we are going to continue something from the previous session, but the aspect which came into the previous session was more into the economic growth, right? The economic growth, how the future digital infrastructure, how it's pertaining to the economic growth. In this session, what we thought about, let us highlight some of the, because we have the players more or less from software and the infrastructure side. So in this particular session, we are going to highlight or touch upon the points more on the infrastructure, how it is required, right? If you're looking forward for the digital infrastructure, how it will be required. So without any further delay, I will like to call on the stage the panelists. So with us here today, we have Mr. Kumar Krishna, who is the CEO of Rannex Space World. Mr. Gopa comes with over 31 years of experience in telecom. He has worked with Nokia Networks as well. And as a CEO of Rannex Technologies, he drives multi-pronged growth through strategic business development and strong people management. Welcome, Mr. Gopa. Next on the panel today, we have Mr. Rajesh Sharaf. Mr. Rajesh Sharaf is a visionary entrepreneur and the founder of Lepton Software, a seasoned leader in the geospatial intelligence solutions. With over 30 years of experience, he has established Lepton as a trusted partner for Fortune 500 companies. Welcome, sir. Next on the panel, we have Mr. GD Singh. Mr. GD Singh is a dedicated to advancing seamless connectivity and innovative mobility solutions as CEO of iBus Mobility. With over 30 years of experience, he excels in managing business operations and strategy development, driving growth in telecom and data structure. Welcome, sir. Next on the panel, we have Mr. Girish Gupta. So Mr. Girish Gupta leads the telecom vertical at APAR Industries, bringing over 25 years of global telecom experience. He had held diverse leadership roles earlier, overseeing operational on international markets and driving initiatives under Digital India. Next on the panel, we have Mr. Akshay Dhoot, a graduate from Warwick and IIT Bombay. And his focus is on revolutionizing the customer experience through AI and blockchain at SmartPing. He also runs a philanthropic all-girls school in Gangapur village. Welcome, Mr. Akshay. Next on the panel, we have Mr. Sachin Jain, who is the founder and CEO of Bharat ICT, a leading manufacturer of telecommunication equipments dedicated to enhancing communication infrastructure. Mr. Sachin comes from a small village in Pathare in MP, and with over a decade experience in telecom, Mr. Jain has established himself as a visionary leader. Warm welcome to all the panelists who have joined us today. So as I was just saying, right, if I talked about the future digital infrastructure, and how it is required for, if we talked about for Viksit Bharat. So just before that, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about more on the points in the infrastructure, digital infrastructure, what it is encompasses of. So if I just talk about briefly, and then I will ask some of the panelists to share their views as well. So just as an introduction, we have seen, right, it is just not about the physical layer which is there for the infrastructure, but it has other layers as well. So if I talk about the various components, that helps to drive the business and helps to drive the coverage overall. It will have different aspects of physical components, which will have your data center servers, your fiber optic cables, your cell towers, your routers, switches. Along with that, you have other components like some of the virtual components which will be there, especially on the VPNs, the SDNs, the virtual machines, and then the platform itself, because that is something, right? If we talked about how it's going to integrate it and everything, the platform itself in overall, if I talk about the digital infrastructure, it plays a key pivotal role in monitoring and in optimizing the infrastructure which is laid. So those are the operating systems, the APIs, the web servers, the microservice architecture. That is, that forms a core component. And the further, not the last, but the important concept of it is on the network infrastructure side. So which is all the internet protocols, the TCP/IP protocols, the DNS, the network security applications, because as we understand, right, it's very important with the growth also to keep everything in control and at par. So starting off the topic, what I would just like, Mr. Gopa, if you just can, help us understand or help the audience with what is that vision that will be there for Viksit Bharat as we talked about, and what type of digital infrastructure that we are aiming towards as a part of this digital infrastructure, for Viksit Bharat.
Thank you, Sunit. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. So, digital infrastructure is all about building a robust, futuristic, and more importantly, a neutral environment. Um, we see that on the device ecosystem, there's a major change happening every now and then, and that's really changing in a pace which is very scary many times. And a robust infrastructure has to address this end device ecosystem that is aimed at user experience and better quality of life that the technology is aiming at. If a digital infrastructure is not geared up for it, then this ecosystem is falling all over the place. Viksit Bharat is all about embracing this part of technology to enhance every Indian's life. From our perspective, as Sunit rightly mentioned, there are multiple dimensions to a digital infrastructure. It goes way beyond a basic infrastructure to much advanced cloud level infrastructure that we need to build. I think from our side, as a leadership think tank, we have to make sure that the networks that we are building are robust enough to take care of it. They are superly futuristic because you can't build an infrastructure every now and then. A highway that you create has to take care of next 50 years, 100 years. So we have to think about that and then make sure that any new adoption can be easily incorporated into this digital infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. But just one more point, what you mentioned about it. What do you think, some of the key components that will be there if you talked about, right? So every citizen, if they have to have that digital revolutions, right? So what are the key components that you look forward that should be a part of the overall ecosphere?
Okay, I think as far as key component technically is concerned, I will leave it to the elite panel we have here. Everybody is coming from a very rich background on that front. From my perspective, I would like to focus upon the regulatory aspects as a key component for every Indian to benefit this Viksit Bharat vision. When you have so many components that are part of a digital infrastructure, we have to be mindful of the fact that in a country like ours, which has both central government and state government in place, which has multiple ministries in place, everybody has to work in tandem. If these people don't really embrace Viksit Bharat, digital infrastructure cannot be a reality. It is not possible. So the PM has a larger vision. The rest of the engine has to work in that vision. So I think that's a very key component from my perspective that has to fall in place across the country to make this reality happen, and digital infrastructure a basic facility that every Indian can avail of.
Okay. No, just one point, because as you mentioned, right, because the government regulatory and as a part of the Bharat project as well. So, just a leading question to Dr. Saraf, to you. So, because BharatNet project, right, and the regulatory concerns which was there, and the phase 3, coming up as well. But what do you see as, the key concerns or something that, from the phase 1 and phase 2 that can be taken while the government is trying to implement the phase 3 of BharatNet, in particular, if we look over these aspects. So if you can just, add some points on.
Sure. So first of all, for people who don't know what BharatNet is, it's a very ambitious Government of India project to connect all the gram panchayats with a high speed, fiber connectivity. There are 250,000, gram panchayats across the country. And the idea is to then take this connectivity further to each and every village. And down the line, every villager then have access to high speed connectivity. So I think there's no question in terms of why this is needed. This is a very extremely important project from ensuring that we have digital inclusivity across the country, and every citizen of the country has access to the digital infrastructure. And it's already well documented that access to high-speed internet and broadband has big role to play in the growth of GDP. So having said that kind of background, let's understand, so we already had phase 1 and phase 2. There had been a lot of challenges in phase 1 and phase 2. And primarily, the problems that I see, there were two major problems. The first one was in terms of ensuring compliances, which happens during your build process. And the second thing is maintaining SLAs, which happens once the network is built. Now, I think in both the stages, there have been problems in the existing BharatNet and both phase 1 and phase 2. And that's where our company like our Lepton software comes in. We provide GIS-based solutions to completely manage the fiber lifecycle management, fiber as well as FTTX. So it starts with the planning. Initially, we help we help organizations like BharatNet, BSNL, or DOT, or PIAs to plan their network optimally, taking into account the ROW already, or where the reserve forest are, or the strata, so that you don't get into all this complexity of later on finding out that you don't have an ROW there, or your designed network is going through a reserve forest, and then you can't get clearance, and it takes years and years before you can do that. Now, the more important is that once that plan is approved and done, what we have now have a solution is when the build out is happening. In the real time, you can actually capture the data at less than 20 centimeter accuracy from the mobile app itself, and that goes to a central server, and it goes to the central monitoring team, which can see in real time what is happening in the ground. Now, what happened in the past, since there was no monitoring of it happening properly, the network that was getting captured and built, which had an accuracy of 15 to 20 meters. And so later on, when people went and there was a fault and they tried to find out where the network was, they would dig somewhere and the network would be like 50 meters away from where they were digging. So these kind of problems can be avoided by adopting a high, the technology that exists today, high accuracy GPS, which can get you an accuracy of 10 to 15 centimeter, which is already, documented as a part of Bharat. So I think the most important aspect is that when you are building out your network, you have to do a very accurate documentation of your network. It's true for BharatNet, it's true for in-building networks, it's true for outside plants. So everywhere, once you have a very accurate and what we call today as a digital twin, once you have built out a digital twin, then not only monitoring, but managing the networks also becomes better. And that's where you come to the second part of it, which is the sort of just ensuring that you are meeting the SLAs. Now, one of the key components of SLAs is that when you have a fiber cut, you want to be able to reach to that fiber cut location within a certain time, right? Maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So if you're going to reach it to a fiber cut within 5 hours, your SLAs are not going to be met. And that's why, again, we have a solution called Smart Operations, which, connects to the RFMS and allows you to reach to an exact fiber cut location with an accuracy of 1 meter within 10 to 15 minutes. So this is how, so there were problems. As an organization, we came forward and we brought a whole suite of applications which can now help organizations to ensure the same problems are not faced in BharatNet 3.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rajiv. Just one point, right? While you mentioned about this, because this is something, as we mentioned, right, as a BharatNet project, it was connecting rural areas. But the other point also comes up with, I want, GD Singhs to, speak about something or touch upon something is on the urban side as well. While we are connected, right, yes, the BharatNet is connected on the rural side and the expansion is there. And as you mentioned, the challenges, something that can be learned as a phase 3 while, the government comes up with, a more elaborate plan of actually having those use cases or something that a connectivity, how it can be expanded further. But on the urban side as well, right, if I talk about healthcare side or if I talk about some of the points like, in particular to hospital or education sector or public areas. So what are the connectivity, right? Or what are the planning that can be done on these infrastructure side in the urban areas? So probably, Mr. GD, with your expansion into some of these solutions, that you guys offer as a part of your company. So what you have seen, in these particular area?
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. So, of course, the point I'll just come across to that, just to give a 30-second context from where we come across. So, IBUS was started like 15, 16 years back by three founders, Ram, Subhash, and Sunil. And they're ex-Infosys and Airtel people. And they believed in the concept of digital connectivity inside the building. So, that's the birth, how IBUS was born. So, for the context sake, what we do is within a building, we solve the connectivity issues. So what I normally say that there is a rural within urban, which primarily means we are all saying that urban villages are not connected. But within the building also there's a rural that is not connected. You walk into a hospital, you walk into thing, your UPI will not work. Your payments cannot, you have to go out of a shop or a mall to make the payments. So when we talk about connectivity, these two things are very important to understand that we have to also solve the urban issues, like rightly what you said. Now coming across what we do in IBUS is we solve problem of connectivity through two routes. One is the typical DAS. We extend mobile coverage inside hospital, malls, and all the things for 4G, 5G, and offer our network to telecom operators so that they can connect to our network and do. Second is that we also do manage Wi-Fi services. There was a big debate with 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi will be a dead. But I think it is growing much more aggressively. In times to come, we'll see. So both licensed band and unlicensed band, we solve connectivity within the building. But having said that, both are required in a building. So there was a debate happening that if Wi-Fi is there, why should mobile operator come inside the building? But the answer to that is very simple. For people who are residing inside that building, who are permanent people, they are connected to Wi-Fi. But people who walk into that building, they need connectivity. So it's for people walking in, Wi-Fi is required, people stationary, this Wi-Fi solves their problem. Like in a resident, if we stay in a house, we are connected to a Wi-Fi network. But some guest comes to my home, then he has to struggle to get my password. So, but if your telecom network support these buildings and all. So fundamentally, I think digital infrastructure, when we talk about in space of urban, important is to solve this while to partner with government, telecom operators, to partner with building owners. I think this ecosystem has to evolve. Government should mandate out all government buildings should be mandatorily connected on mobile network. It should, and they should offer, we will not charge money. You come. They should welcome people to walk into their buildings, set up a network infrastructure. Otherwise, we sometimes see the tender coming out. So where you ask money from telecom operator to walk inside the building. But I think we should not look at small monies of getting those rentals inside the building. We should solve larger problem of public inconvenience. Just imagine a 75, 80-year-old grandfather in a hospital. He wants to do a WhatsApp call, video call with his grandchildren. He can't do it because the connectivity is not there inside a hospital. So he's devoid of those kind of things. So this is my sort of whatever experience we have gathered over last 4, 5, 6 years. I think we should be working now. 80% of data consumption happens inside the building. So we should be now more focused on solving problems inside the building.
Okay, thank you, GD sir. Just one point on that, right? While we talk about the urban as and the rural, which Dr. Rajiv also mentioned about. So now the point is right, how that infrastructure, what we require, as a part from the public-private partnership, from that aspect, right, to bridge that divide. Because yes, there is a gap between the urban, but as we see, the rural has a larger gap which is there. But yes, the challenges will be there. But what can be done as a public-private partnership around those lines, to bridge those gaps. So any point that you have in particular that can solve these type of challenges?
So I think the ecosystem has to self-adjust in terms of economic model, because public-private partnership, when we say at the underlying principle is making money. So no private enterprise will invest in a digital infrastructure if it doesn't see the money. So it's important to understand the use cases. Like if in case there is a requirement, there's a mass people walking into a place, you understand there is a need, there has to be someone paying for it. So either a telecom operator or a mall owner or a building thing or a customer. So any one of these three things in any model should operate. So we see road infrastructure, the tolls are there. So there is a public partnership model there also. But it is it is done through a money which is for the consumers walking into that on the road. So somewhere this has to come out that it has to adjust to the ecosystem, this public-private partnership. And this is exactly what we do. We solve it, we go to government buildings, we have connected Supreme Court of India, we connected International Convention Center, Yashobhumi, we have done everywhere. So there is infrastructure, we spend huge tons of money, but we are realizing that money through various other business models to make it viable.
Okay, thanks on that point, Mr. GD. But just one point that is leading up to this is something I want Mr. Grish also to add upon, is something, how can we expand towards the tower infrastructure, or what are the challenges that you have faced, right? Because we talked about the challenges in the partnership as well. But one thing is still as a major challenge that we still foresee, connecting to the rural part of the country. And what are the challenges that you see, right, to have that infrastructure and provide the universal broadband in these locations?
See, good morning. In these areas, when we talk about rural and remote areas, have been under a set of challenges which have been overcome over the years. If we see last few years, the rural connectivity has gone up multi-folds. It's more than 50% as we speak. I'll say under Viksit Bharat, there are a number of initiatives which have been taken with the help of government and private industry. If we all understand, ROW was the biggest challenge which we used to have in the industry. Whether it is rural or urban, we all had the challenge. As late as last week, Government of India, DOT, has come up with the ROW policy, amended ROW policy, which will be implemented from January 2025, where a single window clearance shall be provided to every AIA who wants to invest in this network. It's a 67 days clearance straight, deemed acceptance will be provided to everyone. I think there is one challenge of forest, which is a central utility, which still needs to be resolved. But it's a big leap forward where we have been talking about this challenge over the last so many years. Second, I'll say in a rural and remote areas, the largest challenge when we build these networks, go and build these networks in these areas is the power, erratic power supplies. And that's also getting overcome with the solar panels, solar power getting available in these markets. And today, when our tower comes, when our POP comes, they come with a solar panel installed. So that has again enabled that challenge. And the last, and I think the biggest challenge for rural and remote connectivity is ROCE by any operator. Because the set of people and the distance network needs to be built. It's humongous. When we try to do with the towers, we didn't get the line of sight. When we try to build with the fiber, it's a lot of investment out there. And that's what is actually a major held back of the rural connectivity in the country. So government has initiated BharatNet as a project, phase 1, phase 2, Rajiv just spoke about. Phase 3 is already out, which will connect 650,000 villages. Once this network gets connected, we'll have all the operators, service providers, multiple use case service providers will latch on to this network to provide these services. So this will be the minimal capex and running OpEx model where each one can come together to bring the digital inclusiveness in the rural part of the country. And we'll have a Viksit Bharat definitely until unless we include rural India part of that urban India, we won't be able to get into the Viksit Bharat.
Okay. Thank you on that perspective. As you mentioned, right, the solar panels and how it's going to become around. And something as we see the use case, right, the major use case, if I talk about rural area, is morely focused on your education, your healthcare, your farming, as well as your e-governance. So as you know, earlier, Dr. Rajiv also mentioned, right, how that can be built. So Dr. Rajiv, I have a question for you in particular. So when we talk about this particular thing, right, from the rural aspect, so in these particular three use cases that we see, or four use cases that has a major adaptability currently in the rural part, which is your healthcare, your education, your e-governance. So what is the execution and planning that you foresee, right, or what is something that has to be done? So while that phase 3 will be there and the expansion will be there, what is on these sides of execution that we need to, so that the adaptability and some additional use cases, so that we have seen that yes, the broadband is there, in many villages as of now, though it is still on almost one fourth is there, the coverage is there, and more are being planned. But the adaptability and more use case or more usability is lacking as of now. So what is the planning execution, that you foresee that can be there to add more value to the connectivity through the BharatNet project, which has been to these villages as part?
Right. I think the first thing is, many instances we've seen that the government builds the infrastructure, and then, the India has a very entrepreneurial society, and a lot of startups come in and start building applications. So specifically talking of, and in context of BharatNet and the rural areas, and what we have also been doing. So at the end of the day, there are three primary sectors from the rural area that people want to look at. One is the health, one is the education, and third is the agriculture, right? I mean, these are three. The agriculture provides the job and the economy, and the health and education brings you very basic, sectors. So, and one of the things that we've realized is that the key problems in lot. So we have been building on one application on the health tech side to connect the rural areas with the doctors in the urban areas or wherever they are. So of course, the key requirement or key ingredient is that you need a very high-speed internet connectivity. Now we are building a VR application. What it does is that if you have a patient in a village, and I'm talking primary healthcare. I'm not even talking about tertiary healthcare where somebody needs to be operated. And so he goes into the smart clinic. He goes in there. The smart clinic is there with all the cameras and everything fitted into it. The moment he gets into his checks into the Aadhaar card, his alert is sent to a doctor, multiple doctors. Some of the doctor can pick up. And wherever they are, it doesn't matter. They could be sitting in the clinic. They could be on the road. They just take out the VR set and they are connected to the patient in the room. And it's a completely immersive experience. We have a small demo. I don't know if you know that there's a WTSA, which is a World Telecom Standards Assembly session is going on from 14th of October to 24th in the Hall 1. So we have a demo that we're demonstrating there on the health tech side. So I'm saying, so this basically then, the doctor can converse with the patient. He can see all his records. If he has X-ray, he can see the X-ray on the fly. So all these things happening as if in the real time. And that's what is something that bridge access to these kind of services in the rural areas. So I think a lot of applications are there sitting on the edges. A lot of applications are waiting for the proper infrastructure to be available in the rural areas to make these applications go live. Parallelly, Government of India has also started an initiative called, 5G intelligent villages. They came out with an RFP. It's a research project. They gave a list of 12 villages, and the RFP have been submitted by more than 100 organizations. So I think there are multiple applications that exist on the water, agriculture, healthcare, education. What is lacking is that high-speed connectivity today.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rajiv. No, just as you mentioned, right, there are a lot of applications and, something as we talked about in other sessions and as we see, right, the future is now, and we talk about some of the hot topics is there on the technology side, right? If we talked about machine learning, we talked about AI, or if we talked about blockchains and other technologies as well. So one question, that I have for you, in particular, Mr. Girish, is something, when you mention the challenges, for the enrollment of, the towers and tower cores to rural areas. But do you see any these technologies, especially in AI, how that can be adapted to enhance the, some of the coverage or something, so that, the technology, because we have the technology now, right? And it has been evolving and with the back end of the coverage that can be provided. So any particular on the tower core side, or on the infra side that you see that effectiveness in, that will support on overall in achieving this digital inclusiveness?
Sure. I'll just take a minute, a pause out here. See, when we are already walking into the fifth industrial revolution, if I say so, which is digitalization today. And when I say digitalization is happening with the convergence of three things: human, digital, and physical world. When I say human, we are trying to look at all the devices which all the panelists have been talking about, is how we interface of a human happens in the digital world. Second, we said is how we realistically bring the physical world into the digital world. And that's how the collaboration of these three dimensions happen on one world. And three technologies which are emerging heavily. One is metaverse, second is cloud, and third is, if I say, blockchain. Uh, so all three are pillars of next 5 years or 10 years of Viksit Bharat, if I put it that way. Now to drive these things, whether enterprise level or consumer level, it cannot be done as individuals, as humans, because the set of data which needs to get transformed is humongous. And that's where the AI comes in play, for which acts as a catalyst, which acts as a platform to deliver these three services across the networks, the digital networks we are building on, whether rural, whether urban, or whether inside buildings, what I think Mr. Singh mentioned. And when we are building this, if I look at AI getting latched onto the, what your point is on towers or radios primarily, or the telecom networks primarily, there are three or four things which comes to my mind which we can build upon. A, that if AI is deployed on the networks, we can definitely do the repetitive automative jobs with the help of AI, which can cut down certain costs. We can definitely do a predictive maintenance of the networks, which can help to bring our OPEX down. But if I look at the two larger aspects around AI which can deliver, one is the energy efficiency. We are talking about carbon neutral society. I think Airtel also launched with Nokia that how they can come down to zero kind of emission. So energy efficiency is a larger thing which is good for the society, good for the rural connectivity, where I can, with the help of AI, I can utilize my towers effectively, depending on the need of the traffic during the peak hours, off peak hours. That's one aspect. The second largest aspect of is a network analysis and optimization, where we can optimize the whole network, analyze the network, and bring the benefits to the users, slice and dice the network as per the evolving need of the cloud, as per the evolving need of the edge data centers. We can do that. That not only, if we put another layer of AI on top of NMS, we can even uh, deploy the capex as per the need of the society. As we move forward, the need of the society is different. We can have a heat map generated. The heat map can help us indoor connectivity or a remote connectivity very easily, and operator can definitely deploy their networks based on those heat maps. That can enable the capex as well as the opex of the network, which will allow them to invest more into the network at the right place.
Okay, no, that really adds on value, right? And it has correctly mentioned, how it will really solve that, it will be more sustainable for the operators as well. So just on a leading question, no, on top of it, I just wanted to ask Mr. Akshay, to you in particular. So, with this expansion, right, the fiber optic and 5G, as Mr. Girish also mentioned upon, right, how that, connectivity will be there. But for you, right, how do you see, as AI and machine learning driving this optimization and scalability for the digital infrastructure? So, what is that perspective, right? What is particularly you want to understand, which like underserved regions, right? How it's going to add more value?
Thank you, Suneet. So yeah, I think machine learning is going to be playing a very, very important and a large role going forward to for the maintenance and the sustainability of the entire infrastructure that will be developed. So already India has a very huge infrastructure in place, and it is expanding rapidly. And with the entire Viksit Bharat mission, it is very important that, as my fellow panelists rightly said, we need to make sure that, the systems through machine learning, they need to know exactly where the maximum data utilization is happening, what kind of data is being utilized, and where it is being utilized. For example, which are the servers which are catering to educational institutes or healthcare institutes in the most rural areas. Internet is going to play a very big role in terms of, the AI will be delivering how exactly to respond to certain needs of the patients. A lot of places we don't have very advanced systems in terms of healthcare, or even in terms of education, we don't have like the most experienced professors available. So to make sure that all that connectivity is there, we need to make sure that the right infrastructure is available at the right time. And that infrastructure also needs to be serviced properly. So for servicing that, again, machine learning plays a very important role. Through AI and machine learning, we can understand what problems are happening regularly, what are the causes of those problems, so that next time we are prepared beforehand, even before there is some kind of a network issue, we know exactly how to service it, how to take care of those kind of problems. And of course, network optimization is another thing which becomes much more easier and efficient, because if we know exactly where we require maximum amount of network, where the focus is, like which are the areas of pockets and which kind of data are they consuming or uploading, accordingly the infrastructure can be deployed, and we can make sure at a much more optimal cost the country can reach out to its rural areas.
Okay. Just one more point. Just wanted to understand, right? When we talk about the blockchain, in particularly, and then as I understand, this mapping is way into it. What do you see as the blockchain technology, right, in enhancing the security and transparency within the telecom sector in particular, and especially in relation to customer data and service? So
Yeah, so Sunil, as more and more number of people are getting connected to the network, and they are having their files and everything on the cloud, security is of the utmost importance. If people don't have faith in the network, if they are not confident that this network is secure and safe, then naturally people will not utilize it as much. So it is very important that people have that confidence. For that kind of confidence, blockchain is a solution which is very, I would say, robust. It has proved itself as very strong. One of the examples is, and one of the biggest examples in the world is India's own telecommunication industry, where the telecom operators are connected on the blockchain, on the DLT, and they are, basically trying to scrub away, the right and the wrong numbers, any kind of spam and all. Like the amount of spam since the DLT was implemented has reduced down drastically, and that is again because of blockchain, because all the operators are connected on a single DLT. Similarly, blockchain is going to be playing a significant role in telecom operations going forward as well, when it comes to whitelisting or preventing scam, spam, and those kind of things. So similarly, this again, blockchain can be used in various ways in other physical infrastructure as well, in 5G as well as the fiber. This can be basically, it can ensure that, let's say, any service provider, if service providers are having any kind of interactions or wherever they are connected, if all those transactions are on the blockchain, then they are totally immutable and they are completely transparent. So it makes it very easier to process contracts, any contracts that are developed between, let's say operators, or between the government and certain enterprises. So all those contracts can, if they are on the blockchain, then it can be made sure that payments are happening on time. It can make sure that, we are able to identify who exactly is doing what in the system. If there are certain processes where we require multiple parties to, give a go-ahead for any certain process to take place, we could have something like a customer giving a go-ahead, and some government entity giving a go-ahead, and the operator giving a go-ahead. And only with the transaction of all three can the blockchain accept that and make the contract go forward. So this kind of technology, of course, can also be used for giving out SIM cards and all. If the government has all the identities on the blockchain, and if operators, the government, and the individuals, all three are connected and their information is there on the blockchain, then of course this is again going to make it much more simpler to identify any frauds. So overall, basically, definitely this kind of infrastructure is something which enterprises in India are going to provide. We are one of the providers of such kind of infra, and this is definitely going to make the whole system, whole infrastructure lot more robust and safe and secure.
okay. Thank you. Actually, just moving from the topic, on the technologies and all, Mr. Sachin, right? I have a question for you in particular. What do you see as the importance of IBS? Because this is something that we have not touched upon in detail as of now. So I just wanted to, get your perspective. In particular, what do you see? What is the importance of IBS it plays in the Viksit Bharat, and how it will help in, or how it will play as a support overall, for the support of, to support the people.
Thank you, Sunit. Good morning, everyone. So, in our journey towards becoming the digital India, Viksit Bharat, we all know the importance of the network. We all know the importance of the seamless internet connectivity towards the every corner of the building, every corner of the house. We know that the importance of the smart cities, smart houses, smart homes, smart factories. So we are moving towards the different, smart connectivity. So this is become very important for us to enable some kind of connectivity which is seamless, which provide the uninterrupted voice and data services. Traditionally, as I come to a figure that 80% of the network in India, which is outdoor, network, is using the 80% of data consumption happens throughout the outdoor network, right? But the indoor network, wherein we are using all these smart cities, as I mentioned, required some kind of solution, which is IBS. So IBS is a solution wherein we reach to a place where network is not available. When we say smart cities, it is a backbone of digital India. It is a backbone of digital, transformation of India. Viksit Bharat is one of the, tool which we are using for, different kind of development. So in our journey, growing need for IBS is becoming more important. We are moving towards the urbanization also, becoming, the fastest nation which is growing in digital India. So traditionally, we know that the requirement of the internet has become the more important, right? So IBS is something where we are not getting the network. We are not a network is not available. We are ensuring that the network comes to that place. We are ensuring that the network, voice and data networks improve there. So this is how the IBS come into the place.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sachin. Right. I know, as just on the follow-up, right? If I recall, in the earlier session, Mr. Mohit Basin also mentioned, right? But because as a part of the government, as a part of the Viksit Bharat, right? The vision for, it's almost tenfold. If we talk about Viksit Bharat 2047, right? The vision is that the growth, it will be more than 10, or around tenfold growth will be there. And that's the vision the government has. So on that particular, right, what do you see? It can be Mr. Gopa or Mr. Sharaf, right? But what do you know? What strategic roadmap that should be there to be developed, right, to ensure that India's digital infrastructure contributes in achieving this, Viksit Bharat 2047 vision, while addressing, both the economic and the social disparities are balanced.
Okay. Thank you. This was a long wait to get to the next question. So I think I'll go back to what I kind of said, and I think some of the panelists did allude to that. As Renext, we are very closely associated with multiple worlds on the ground. One is the real estate world, which is continuously building office complexes, commercial malls, residences, hospitals. They are busy building that. They are completely governed by MoHUA, Urban Affairs Ministry, and all those people. Then there is telecom organization, DOT, TRAI, and X number of agencies. We are engaging with them as well. And then there is a plethora of end user ecosystem which are digitally governed. Today, starting from a door lock to anything that you can envisage is all digitally controlled. Viksit Bharat is going to embrace all this into one. Now, how are we as a country folding this as a strategic step to build up is a big question mark. Unless all these umbrellas come under one mega umbrella, this is not going to happen. So 2047 is not too far away. In our kind of business, 20 years goes like this. So I think we have to hurry up. We have to bring several initiatives, strategic initiatives that can bring all these entities under one fold. We need to give executive powers to that entity to make this end-to-end, execution happen. And then we need to have an alignment with technology partners who are thinking about the future continuously. The large multinationals who are in this line of business, the startup companies which are working in this kind of environment. We have to align all this towards 2047. I hope Government of India is working towards it, and that's what I would see that as a strategic initiative we should take for digital infrastructure. Thank you.
Yeah. Please, Mr. Ji.
Yeah. So just to add on to Gopal, what he said, you see, typically in a building environment, when we purchase an apartment, we don't ask the builder whether electricity will be there or water will be there in the home. We don't ask. It's not an option question. You tick mark. You want water in your house. So I think digital connectivity should become part of that list, that laundry list. So it should be like mobile connectivity inside the building. Yes or no? No, it has to be yes. So how, like what he was saying, urban ministry, they've come out with a code of conduct for buildings, for rating and all, but how it is being enforced, how the builders are making sure that the digital infrastructure, maybe through Wi-Fi or through mobile connectivity, rather mobile connectivity should be mandated. Every building should be connected with an in-building solution, sort of a thing. Of course, I come from this industry, I have to say it loud, but this is where the government's role will come into. If they start mandating that, we will not give you occupation certificate if you are not digitally certified inside the building. They can conduct a test, do a walk test, see whether the mobile works in that building, be a residential, commercial, IT park, hospital, any kind of a building. So that's something which government can do. And I'm telling you, in 12 months, if this mandate comes, the whole infrastructure will change in the country. Suddenly, there'll be, like RERA came across, certain discipline came across, just one mandate. You see, 1 year, a lot of things will happen. Like,
Yeah. Please, Mr. Rajiv.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of agree with them, but I also slightly disagree with them. In the sense that if you look at it, taking example of buildings, where, so the builder actually drops the electricity or water outside your house, and then you build everything inside the house yourself, right? Which is probably happening in telecom. Where we are actually failing today is that ensuring a good quality coverage inside the houses, right? And all of us are stay in residences and we go different corners of the house and we have problems. And I think that's where they can come and really help out. But I think where we lack, and where I've seen the operators also doing is that there's no proper planning of your apartment, the way you would plan your electricity points and everything, and you go through for water connection everywhere. I think the proper planning of in-building is not happening, right? Where should you put your access points? How those access points will get connected? If we put those access points, will we get coverage in each and every corner of the residence, building, campus, whatever it is? Of course, it fits into what we do. So we actually have rolled out a solution which we launched in this particular, IMC itself, what's called Smart Campus. It basically allows you to plan the whole campus or a building or inside of a building, or if you have a multi-story complex where you have a lot of public spaces. So all this planning can be done. You can go, you can place your access points. It will tell you what coverage you have, where you have those coverage. You can do all your cabling, then to bomb. So I think what is happening today is people buy houses, they get the drop outside the house and done, right? Somewhere we need to, the operators and the IBS guys and people like us, all of us need to come together and ensure that the coverage is reaching each and every part of the house or the campus.
Okay. I think so. Yeah, please ask.
No, I kind of agree with all of them. And to what I understand or I see that connectivity is still an issue inside. And we talked about initially there is a connectivity issue outside also.
Exactly.
Right? So what really we need as a Viksit Bharat 20 years from now, And yesterday in the opening session, PM said that we are 8 times to moon, we have laid the fiber into the country. Like if you travel 8 times to moon, we have laid that much fiber, which turns out to be more than 40 million fiber getting laid into the country already. Still, we have a larger issue of connectivity. What's the core issue actually? And I personally believe uh, it's a interest the way we have created the networks. It needs to be redefined. It needs to be unified platform available where a single platform can provide you connectivity needs across the country. Public private partnership, somebody spoke, that's what is required here. That we build a single platform to provide fiber connectivity at any place, anywhere in the country for the digital inclusion. I can share examples. There are towers where you have a Vodafone fiber connectivity or Airtel fiber connectivity, but you won't have the other operator. And the primary reason is fiber is only connected to one of the radios, not to the other radios. So we have to make this connectivity ubiquitous. We have to enable a single platform where anybody can go and lease the fiber. There can be modalities of public-private partnerships which can be formulated to bring this ubiquitous digital coverage.
Okay. I think so. We are on time, and apologies from Dr. Rajesh Shah. He had to leave for something urgent that he has to attend to. But I think so that call is, I think so a lot of topics, as from rural to urban, the connectivity, as Mr. Grish also mentioned, right? We have talked about those aspects. So now I think so it was really an intriguing session for me in particular to understand, right, what are the challenges, how we can come up with these challenges, and what should we be looking forward, as an operator, as an individual going forward, right? And what are the areas where it is actually required some interventions from the government side as well, from the public side as a private partnership as well, right, within the development. So I'll now open the forum for any questions from the people who have joined us. So any questions from the team over here? So I'll open for the forum. So if any questions, I think so we can take few questions. Though we are already late on the time, but we can have few questions if there's any. Yeah. Excuse me, can you pause the mic?
From a closing point of view, like you had mentioned, an integrated authority. So shall we say that this panel is recommending a national digital authority which looks at all aspects of the regulatory, of the quality of services, of the various sectoral bodies which are involved, which Gopal rightly mentioned. So do we see an integrated approach as we move to Viksit Bharat and digital transformation being the way forward? The creation of a national digital authority which removes the pinpricks and takes decisions so that we keep moving rapidly, because otherwise 20 years will pass by and 2047 will be on us and we'll be still discussing the same things. Do you see a case for a national digital authority to come up? And is this panel going to recommend something like that? Thank you.
I fully agree with you on that. We already have like a Gati Shakti program running in the country, which has united the ministries, which has united the states, and a single digital program is running. Now, when we are talking about infrastructure for Viksit Bharat, that's again needs to have a unified digital authority can be created, which can run a single platform for providing all these infrastructure services at a single platform. If you look at power transmission is done across country by one authority. Highways done by one authority across the NHAI or power grid. But in fiber, in towers, there is no such entity. And there can be a public-private partnership again under that digital authority who can provide those kind of connectivities. And there can be a framework which can be defined.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing sort of a concept. If there is a unified, like are we saying urban ministry, DOT, IT, broadband India Force, so a lot of these pieces, if they have to be put together and a decision making has to be made pretty fast to mandate and make it a law or something like that. So I think that's a great idea.
So any other questions? Else, yeah, please.
Thank you for the insightful discussion. I'm having just one question. So when can we have 6G connectivity that can be used by most of the businesses? Thank you.
So I think we are currently in the nascent stage of 5G. I think what we have to understand is what it is bringing on table. We are at 4G level also. We find the connectivity pretty good. If you want to watch a cricket match inside or do you're able to do with 4G. What 5G brought was a better speeds and low latency networks. So that and the use cases around 5G are still developing. It's not still not solved. In fact, telecom operators had put a little brake on their deployments because they are not finding enough traction for 5G, people to pay more for 5G networks. I think 6G, if you ask me, is like 4 to 5 years away. And solving the use cases, why should person pay more? You have to buy spectrum, you put BTS, you have to put everything. Those use cases have to come out. I think 5G, once those use cases get solved, then I think we can look at 6G as another platform.
So I had a question with respect to AI specifically. When you said that, on the blockchain things are operating, there's a privacy which is maintained for the end consumer and from the organization point of view. But today data is sold day in and day out. My birth date, my, place, where do I come from, my health statistics, everything. When I download any app, I sign off, I accept the terms. So it is available. Then how do I ensure that it is going to be secured? Because that is what is sold out. I mean, it's there. So, you as an organization will say, ki, okay, I am being, true to my, the thing that I am doing. But as an end consumer, I still feel ki my data is not private anymore. It's being sold.
Yeah, you are absolutely right that currently whenever we are signing into any kind of applications or anything, then of course we are willingly providing some data, which some companies are even using it to send maybe advertisements or various other things. What is important is that we transparently know exactly what is happening, how the data is being used. So to some extent, the machine learning and AI can give that visibility. Where blockchain comes up is that whenever something wrong is happening, like let's say a scam or a fraudulent message is being sent, so technology like blockchain can track down that person and it can find out who exactly initiated that particular scam or a fraudulent message. There are many scams and fraudulent messages and even calls which are going around where people are unfortunately, sometimes they are sharing their OTPs accidentally, sometimes they're getting the message or an email from a known person from their own, let's say, family or office. So then they end up sharing personal data and all also. So if we are able to track down who is using it in the wrong way or who's doing the fraud, then at least we'll be able to reduce down this whole thing drastically. Those who are creating these scams will be afraid of the transparency, and that's what we want, that they should know that if we have things on the blockchain, if we have our ML which is crawling down the networks, then we'll be able to track them, trace them and identify them, and the law can accordingly punish them.
I think so. We have to close because we are already overdue, and the sessions are running late. So probably we can have us. You can connect separately with the panelists as well. They are their booths, and we are here for the next 2 or 3 days. So whenever you get a chance, you can certainly connect with them. We have to close the session now because we have already been sure that we are over time and the next session is about to start. So a lot of thanks to the panelists, right? Please, no, it's really intriguing, and for sharing their expertise and thoughts, right? How we are looking forward for this next future, and this is going to be connected, right, in every people, every corner of the country. So thanks everyone, thanks all the panelists, and thanks the audience for being patiently hearing us. And certainly, as IMC also arrange a small token of appreciation to the panelists, so that will be there.
I think it was a very interactive session, something very insightful that we've all agreed to, and I think we believe it has created a very impactful wisdom on all of us. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to request our moderator now to distribute the mementos to all the respective panelists. Mr. Girish Gupta, Mr. Gopa Kumar Krishna, Mr. G.D. Singh, Mr. Sachin Jain, and Mr. Akshay Doot. I would also like to present the token of appreciation to our moderator. I would request all of you to please come closer for a group picture.